North Korean leader Kim Jong-un says Pyongyang's ultimate goal is to possess the world's most powerful strategic force. The remarks were shared by the country's state media this past weekend. So how is the international community responding? Why are China and Russia even blocking rhetorical censure against North Korea? And what options are available to addressing a potential seventh nuclear test by North Korea? Welcome to Issues and Insiders. In an interview with an international news agency this week, President Yoon Suk-yeol claimed neighboring China can and should discourage North Korea from its nuclear ambitions. For more on Pyongyang's aggressive intentions, I have Professor Min Jeong-hun at the Korean National Diplomatic Academy live on the line. Professor Min, welcome back.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Right, I also have Doctor Bruce Bennett at the RAND Corporation with us live. Dr. Bennett, as always, it's a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Professor Min, we'll begin with you then. Prior to President Yoon Suk-yeol's comments, North Korea's state media this past Saturday reported that Chinese President Xi Jinping was willing to work with Kim Jong-un for regional and global peace and prosperity. What purpose does this report seek to serve, and what are its broader implications?
Well, basically, I think that it's a signal that the two countries, North Korea and China, will work closely together to secure their own interests against the cooperation among U.S. and its allies. As you know, the strategic competition between U.S. and China has been intensified, and the Biden administration is trying to strengthen the cooperation with its allies, like South Korea, Japan, and Australia, to check the rise of China. And to cope with the Biden administration's aggressive moves, China is also trying to improve its relationship with its old friends and partners like Russia, North Korea, and Pakistan. For example, China is strengthening its relationship with Russia after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Meanwhile, North Korea is also taking advantage of the U.S.-China strategic competition and the war in Ukraine in order to strengthen its ties with China and Russia. North Korea has been focused on improving its military capabilities and enhancing its bargaining power against the U.S. So it shows that North Korea will not come back to the negotiating table for the time being, and therefore, North Korean economic hardship will be maintained, mainly because of the economic sanctions imposed to the country. So North Korea's cooperation with China and possibly Russia is critical for its economic survival. So these situations suggest that enhancing cooperation between North Korea and China is beneficial for both countries. So it is expected that China will increase its support for North Korea economically and possibly diplomatically. And in return for China's support, North Korea will also send more support for China in the international stage. So as a result, I expect that two countries will get closer and closer as time passes by.
Right, and staying with that, Dr. Bennett, between 2006 and 2017, the UN Security Council reportedly regularly sanctioned North Korea for its provocations. It adopted, I believe, 9 major sanctions resolutions. That being said, why are China and Russia even blocking rhetorical censure now?
Well, I take it even a step beyond my colleagues' comments and say, at this point, China wants to dominate the world. That's fundamentally what Xi Jinping has said by 1949. They want to be in a dominant position. To do that, they've got to undercut the United States and our allies. And so they're doing anything they can to that end, both directly towards the United States, but also China's very pleased to see North Korea causing trouble for the United States, undermining the U.S. extended deterrence with their missile tests and other provocations. And those things support China. That also supports Russia, because Russia also wants to undermine the U.S., get the U.S. to back out of its activities with Ukraine. So we face a fundamental new Cold War that China and Russia have declared And the rest of the world could be hurt a great deal if we don't rein that in.
Right, I see. And moving forward, Professor Min, following pictures of Kim Jong-un and his daughter at the launch site of the latest ICBM test, North Korean state media claim nuclear weapons are about, and I quote, protecting the country's children. Now, some pundits believe an image-making campaign is underway for Kim Jong-un. What are your thoughts?
Yes, personally, I agree with the opinion by 100% that Kim Jong-un is conducting an image-making campaign for the domestic consideration. North Korea is trying to enhance the military capabilities, and therefore, North Korean people will continue to suffer from the economic hardship, mainly because of the economic sanctions. So I think North Korean people feel that there will be no hope that their situation will get better soon, and their frustration and grievance could get bigger. So Kim Jong-un needed to send the political messages to his people, persuading why they needed to go through the economic hardship with their leader. And the North Korean regime is making an argument that North Korea's military buildup or the advancement is inevitable for its defense or survival against the U.S. And it is trying to mobilize its people with the message like security should come first, military capability is the only way to defend ourselves, and we can overcome the economic hardship if we trust each other and work hard. And the image-making campaign that takes advantage of the family value can contribute to controlling the public opinion in North Korea. In the pictures, Kim Jong-un appears with his daughter at the ICBM launch site, and they look happy when the missile test was successful. So the pictures send a message to North Korean people like Kim Jong-un, your supreme leader is just like a person and father like you. And they even can be safe only with its military power and ICBM capabilities. And that will be the case for you and your family. Meanwhile, I also think that the image-making country campaign also suggests that North Korea's economic hardship is getting more serious and tougher, and Kim Jong-un had to mobilize his family to relieve North Korean people's frustration and grievance.
Right, perhaps craft a better narrative then. And Dr. Bennett, back in September, North Korea passed new legislation that reportedly is the most important update to its nuclear doctrine in a decade. First then, do remind us about that update and do tell us how it corresponds to North Korea's expected 7th nuclear test.
Well, back in 2013, North Korea stated that its nuclear doctrine was defensive. This new doctrine that was announced in September is offensive. It is no longer a defensive kind of approach. It's intendedly offensive, for North Korea to be able to coerce South Korea and the United States to put pressure on us. And then in October, Kim goes ahead and takes it a step further and says he's actually practicing missile launches that could be done against South Korean targets. Targets, he states, he wants to neutralize airfields, he wants to destroy ports, and he wants to destroy military command and control. Now that leads us to understanding the nuclear weapons then, because you cannot destroy a port or neutralize an airfield with a small tactical nuclear weapon. That's what the U.S. considers tactical nuclear. But Kim seems to be thinking that tactical nuclear means something that would be used against South Korea. To do what he says they intended to do, that would take a weapon of hundreds of kilotons to destroy ports, to destroy airfields. That sounds like what he's preparing to test with his 7th nuclear test. The last test, the 6th test, was in that direction, but he may try to detonate something even larger. And his confidence in being able to get that may be what's delaying the 7th test. He's not sure his people can do it yet.
Right, I see. And against that backdrop, Professor Min, South Korea, the US, and Japan have pledged an unparalleled response in the event of a seventh nuclear test by North Korea. However, some pundits, Professor Min, believe that these three countries may have very few tools in their toolbox to tackle North Korea. Do you agree?
Yes, basically I think that, like Dr. Bennett mentioned, North Korea is ready to conduct another nuclear test. And I think that the only thing left is Kim Jong-un's political decision. And I think Kim Jong-un is calculating when is the appropriate timing to do it. And I mentioned several times earlier today that North Korea has been focused on improving its military capabilities and enhancing its bargaining power against the U.S. And I also think that North Korea will come back to the negotiating table with the U.S. after it completes the military buildup. And I think that North Korea's current military buildup includes ICBM and nuclear tests. So if North Korea's strategic goal is to secure enough military capabilities to mobilize its people and enhance its bargaining power against the U.S., it could be hard to expect that the three countries' pledge for the strong response to the nuclear test will deter North Korea to complete its military buildup. It's mainly because strategically, political cost of giving up the nuclear test could be higher than the benefit for North Korea. If North Korea gives up the nuclear test, of course, it will avoid the strong response from the three countries. However, compared to the benefit, its cost will be higher. North Korean regime needed to have an alternative political message to persuade its people about why it does not move forward to complete the military buildup, although the regime has emphasized that the military buildup could be the only way to protect their country from U.S. And Kim Jong-un also took advantage of the family value to mobilize North Korean people for the military buildup. So taken together, I think that it would not be easy to expect that North Korea's military buildup will be discouraged, mainly due to the strong response of the three countries.
Right. And talking about family, Dr. Bennett, North Korea's Kim Jong-un has once again resorted to offensive rhetoric by referring to South Korea as idiots. She was mocking Seoul's plans for new sanctions. Why is it that we have been largely condoning such diatribe by Pyongyang?
Well, I think we have to understand why she's using that kind of language to start with. I have 4 children. I know when my children were young that when they thought they were in a weak position, they often used very strong language. It was just a way of overcoming their weakened position within the family. I think that's what Kim Yo-jong is doing. She feels weak. She's got internal problems, especially with food, but also with consumer goods. Things are not going well for the Kim Jong-un regime. And so she's using this rhetoric to shift attention. That's one way to do it. So why are we allowing that to happen? The U.S. is anxious not to get involved in some kind of escalatory spiral with North Korea. One could start yelling at each other in ways, like in a family, you get into a fight. So I think we are taking the high road and saying, we're in an okay position, we're doing fine. If Kim wants to tell us that she's in trouble internally, that the regime is weak, we'll take it. That's something we're not exactly disappointed about.
Right, I see. Hopefully you are right, Dr. Bennett. All right, as always, thank you very much for your insights, Dr. Bennett, today. And Professor Min, thank you very much for joining us live at this hour.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, well, on that somber note, we end this edition of Issues and Insiders. Thank you for being with us. See you same time on Wednesday.